Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Limb Power's Monday Morning Motivation with me, Jack Eyers. Now, I thought today we'd bring the energy down a little bit. We're going to go through a little bit of a mobility session. For me, I personally feel that a mobility session is the best way to start your day. We're going to go through a series of movements, a little bit inspired by yoga. All you're going to need is a yoga mat or a gym mat. If you haven't got one of these, I suggest perhaps getting a thick towel, or you can use a couple of towels on top of each other just to help to support your back, especially if you've got a hard floor like my laminate floor in here. And you're just going to need a lot of space. So that is key. We're going to do a little bit of overhead. So you need to be able to stretch above you, and you're going to be going a lot of rotation. So you need space either side of you as well. Okay, guys. So all of this is a floor-based movement session that we're going to go through today. You can do these with prosthetics on or off, entirely up to you, whatever you feel kind of is slightly more easy for you to be rolling around with. I'm going to do mine with it on. I just personally feel I get a better leverage. So if I want to stretch out my lower back, I keep my prosthetic leg on. I can pull it over and I can get really deep into my lower back, into my glutes. So I personally prefer to do it with it on. But like I said, it's entirely up to you. All right, guys? So when you're ready, come and take a lie on the floor, and we're going to go through a series of movements. So guys, our first little movement we're going to go through is just keep your hands above your chest. You can have your legs bent or out in front of you, whichever you prefer. If you have your legs out straight, you might notice a little bit of pressure in your lower back. Your lower back might just start to lift off the floor. If you bend your knees, if you've got the option of bending both your knees, you end up tilting your hips a little bit and just keeping that back pushed into the floor. So you might just find this a little bit more comfortable. If we haven't got the option of bending our knees, this is where we can get a cushion and just place it underneath our residual limbs. Okay, but we are going to be moving around, so just bear that in mind that you might have to move the cushion back and forth. So first thing, find yourself comfortable lying on the floor. Hands above your chest. I'm just going to press the shoulders away and reach behind you as far as you can. You're just going to experience a bit of stretching down the back of the arms, through the back, possibly even into the core there as well. So a nice big stretch right above your head. We're going to go back up to the top, back up into the roof. Right up behind you again. I'm just going to do around 8 of these, just in your own time. Nice big stretch. And you really want to think about not letting the ribs kind of flare off the ground and that back come off. You want to keep it pressed down. And this is what's going to really give you that nice stretch underneath the arms. And if you're tight from sitting at a desk or from a workout, or just because you naturally hold yourself quite tight because of the way you walk, I personally feel just going through this motion is a really nice way of waking up the shoulders. A really nice way of kind of lengthening for those lats, the back muscles. Last one of these. Nice big stretch. Excellent. Now I'm going to put my hands onto my ribs. I'm going to keep my knees together. And we're just going to roll the knees from side to side. You don't want your shoulders to come off the ground when you go through this motion. So that's why I've got my hands on my ribs. It just helps me to think about keeping my torso, my upper torso, as still as possible and flat onto the ground. And all the movement is just coming through my hips and my lower back. For me, again, this is a really nice one. Waking up through the core. It's fantastic rotational exercise. So really good for your obliques, really good for the core. But it's more about releasing some of those little muscles in your lower back. The way that I walk, I tend to use my back muscles quite a lot because what we call hip hitch. I don't actually use my hip flexors to kind of drive through. So I feel like a lot of pressure in my lower back, which I know a lot of other lower limb amputees do as well, and upper limb amputees. Okay, now we're going to bring your legs over to one side, and you're going to bring yourself into almost like a sleeping position like this. Okay, this time hands on top of each other, and we're going to go through a windmill. So hips are stacked, knees on top of each other, shoulders are on top of each other as well. A nice big stretch. Follow your hand over and back down. Follow your hand over and back down. Again, we're going for roughly around 8 of these. So you can see My hips are staying stacked, they're not moving. Now we are just moving the upper torso. So before we were just moving the hips, and now we're just moving the shoulders. And again, it's a nice release for that lower back. You might even feel a little bit through the chest as you bring that arm towards the floor. All the way over. And last time, now you're going to stay in this position and you're going to bend that arm. Now you're going to press away and back down. Press away and back down. Again, another 8 or so of these. And again, just that straightening of the arm, that big stretch, you're going to feel it through your lats, through your back muscles. It's just going to help to stretch up that lower back a little bit further. These are quite strange positions that we're getting ourselves into, which is quite nice. It's something that your body wouldn't usually experience, but your body is also very capable of. So I think it's important to explore these movements. Once you've done roughly around 8, you're then going to bring your arm back and together. And now we're going to draw big circles with the top hand. So all the way around, keep that hand on the floor, back in line here. And I'm going for 8 of these. Keeping that hand on the floor, drawing nice big circles. It's called snow angels, or half a snow angel. Just in your own time. Keeping those hips stacked. Again, it's just the upper body, just the upper torso. And it should be quite a nice, satisfying feeling of movement, of a slight stretch. There shouldn't be any real pain or anything like that. Shouldn't be any real tension. You might feel a little bit in the neck just where we're holding on and supporting our head. It's more about just getting your body moving, exploring these range of motions. That's about 8. I'm going to bring my hands together. At this point, bring our legs back into the center. Now we're going to the other side. So roll over, knees on top of each other, shoulders stacked. We're just going to start with we call this crocodile arms. So again, following with the head, all the way over, going for roughly around 8. Five and 6, 7 and 8. Position, straighten that top arm. God, I can see I'm so much tighter in the side. Pressing up above and back down. Again, roughly around 8 of these. Again, just fit through that, maybe that lower rib, that lower back. I can feel quite a lot through my chest, through my back muscles, a bit of my shoulder. Trying to keep the hand on the floor, which, as you can see, I'm finding very challenging. Use the other hand to press on top of that residual limb or on top of that leg, just to help to pin you in place, get an extra stretch. Nice stuff. And then bring them back together. And now we're going to go for our snow angels. Nice big stretch up and round. 1, going for 8 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Excellent stuff. Okay, so now we're going to sit up. So wait to take a seat, I'll face you. Legs out in front of you, or residual limbs out in front of you. And we're to sit up nice and tall. You're going to reach forward and just take hold of those toes. So you can see me. Just take hold of those toes. Just hold this position for a minute. And again, you'll probably experience a bit of a pull in the back of the legs, maybe a little bit through the top of the bum. maybe in the lower back. And think about trying to keep that back nice and straight, breathing into it. And as you kind of relax, you can feel yourself kind of soften and just get deeper into the stretch. I'm not pulling into it, I'm not trying to force it, I'm just relaxing into it. We're just holding this for a few seconds and relax off. Now we're going to go legs apart. And just use your hands to straighten your back and ease yourself forwards. You just start to feel this a little bit more on the inside of the legs this time. Again, just hold them for a few seconds. Now I'm going to go across to one side. Okay, so I'm going to start with the right leg. So I'm just going to walk myself over. Just going to hold this for a few seconds. Be gentle, be kind to yourself, don't pull yourself into it. The more you relax, the deeper the stretch. You don't want to try and pull yourself into it. You want to try and relax into it and you just feel it soften and the release. And that's what we're looking for. Until eventually you can get to your toes. Again, just a couple of seconds. Relaxing out on there, and then we'll go on to the other side. And I'm sure you'll find that one side is slightly easier than the other. So again, just want to relax into it. Give it a few seconds. Give it a few moments. As you kind of soften into it, as you relax, keep those toes pulled towards you. Just try and take all of those toes. Just relax into it. Good stuff, guys. Really nice. So we're going to stay in this position here. We're going to go through a teapot stretch now. So a teapot is you stretch your arm or position your arm underneath. You look up to the ceiling, and with that, you follow with your hand and you try and touch your toes. I don't imagine you'll be able to get to it unless you're very flexible, and then repeat. So trying to get that chest towards the ceiling, looking up, nice big stretch. You should feel this all through those abs, probably a little bit underneath the arm. It's a nice big rotation. Like I said, if you're a lower limb amputee or even above, you probably experience a little bit of tightness through your back, just where you support yourself when you walk. And these kind of rotational release exercises, release movements, I personally feel are really important to preventing injury, but also just giving you a bit more comfort throughout the day. If you're feeling stiff, tired, in pain, that's not nice, that's exhausting. Going through some of these movements just help you to open up and just relax those muscles, release that tension, can just take away some pain that we sometimes experience. Okay, nice stuff. We're going on to the other side. So again, roughly around 8 of these guys. And again, be kind to yourself, don't force them. You'll probably experience one side slightly tighter than the other. So rotate under, look up to that ceiling, arm over. I'm a lot tighter on this side. Last couple. Just doing these in your own time. I think that's roughly around 8. Just go by feel. Don't worry about counting too much. We're now going to go onto our front, and we're going to go for something called a cobra. Again, some of these exercises, some of these movements are yoga inspired. Just going to lie onto our front. And you're going to put your hands roughly in line with your shoulders and head onto the floor. And now what we're going to do is lift the head up, shoulders up, and just shoulders off the ground. Just a very small movement to start with. Back onto the floor, head back onto the floor. And we're going to repeat this 5 times. This is baby cobra. You just feel the movement through your spine, feel the movement through your shoulders, and mainly the upper back. Nice bit of movement through the neck. Good. Okay, now we're going into our full cobra, where we go. Head up, shoulders off the ground, start to arch that back, And we're coming up. So we go onto our hips, then lower it back down. Shoulders and head. Head, shoulders. Think about those hips. So you're trying to keep those hips onto the ground. Lower them off. You should feel this nice pull through the front of the body. If you've sat down for a long period of time, or if you're quite tight through your hip flexors, the muscles at the front of your legs, this is a fantastic release. Head up, shoulders. Trying to use, imagine your spine of a chain of beads. And you're going one bead at a time and replacing it back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like this. Slow and steady movements. Let's do one more. And relax that one there. Okay, so we're going to go onto our knees. I appreciate that for some people this might be a little bit awkward. So you just need to find your own way of adapting this. You may want to sit onto a cushion, or sitting on the floor might be enough. But here, what we're looking to do is stretch out for the glutes, stretch out for the lower back. You're going to feel a little bit under the arms again, maybe a little bit in the chest. We just want to get into this prayer position. So my knees are either side of the yoga mat, and my arms are just pressed out in front of me. And I'm just leaning into it. If this is too much of a stretch, you could bring your bum off your heels a little bit and lean down. You don't want to have too much of a rounded back. With me, I've got a very limited movement in this hip. So what you'll notice is that I might be a little bit rounded through my lower back as I push down or press down, lean into it. Or we just try and think about keeping a nice straight back if at all possible. Just holding for a few seconds. Now we're going to come across to one side. So let's come across to the right. You're just going to think about rolling your armpit, your left armpit to the floor, and then your right armpit to the floor. Left armpit, right armpit. We're going through 5 of these. Quite small movements. Remember to breathe through it and just relax into it. Again, it's really nice rotation, really nice stretch. Yeah, that's about 5. And we're going to go back into the middle, just hold it for a second or two. You might notice that you've managed to get a little bit deeper, just the muscles have relaxed. That's good. And we're going on to the other side. Roll that right armpit to the floor, back to the middle, left armpit to the floor. Just repeat 5 times. Last time. Really good stuff, guys. Excellent. Okay, very nice. So that is our Monday morning motivation. That has been a movement session. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been a little bit different. Some of you may have not tried anything quite like this before, but notice how you feel. Notice that you feel potentially a bit lighter. Notice that you feel a little bit more awake, even though we've not used so much energy as an intense Monday morning motivation as some of them have been, but you still feel quite energized just from moving our bodies. Our bodies are made of 60% water. Water goes stagnant if it sits still for too long. We need to keep moving. This little movement class that we've just done here can be done any time of day, a number of times throughout the day. If you just need to get off your chair, if you just need to get moving just for 10, 15 minutes, it's a fantastic little routine to kind of go through. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you back here next Monday.